Welcome to Love's Revolution, the podcast where we confront difficult histories, expose ongoing injustice, and imagine a future rooted in dignity, equality, and truth. I'm your host, Connell, and today we're having a short but necessary conversation, one that holds complexity but also clarity. One that begins with anti-Semitism and moves towards a broader proposition about equal recognition and protection for all who have suffered deeply rooted injustice, including South Africa's first peoples, the Khoi and the San. Anti-Semitism isn't new. It's considered to be one of the oldest and most persistent forms of hatred in the world. At its core, anti-Semitism is prejudice, hostility, and discrimination against Jews simply because they are Jewish. It manifests in many ways: conspiracy theories, hate speech, exclusion from institutions, violent attacks, and systemic marginalization. It culminated most horrifically in the Holocaust, where a reported 6 million Jews were murdered in Nazi concentration camps. But anti-Semitism didn't begin or end with the Holocaust. It still exists today in subtle and overt forms, from vandalism of Jewish cemeteries to online hate to political scapegoating. And here's the important part. Across the world, anti-Semitism is rightly condemned. Governments have passed laws to protect Jewish communities, to memorialize Jewish suffering, and to educate future generations about the consequences of hate and silence. And they should. But here's the proposition. If we as societies recognize the importance of protecting Jewish communities from erasure and violence, should we not extend the same level of urgency, reverence, and institutional protection to indigenous communities who have also suffered catastrophic injustice? I'm talking specifically here about the Khoi and San, the First Nations of South Africa. Long before colonists arrived, the Khoi and San lived with deep spiritual, ecological, and cultural systems rooted in the land. But they were among the first to be dispossessed, systemically driven off their land, robbed of language, sacred customs, family structure, and identity. They were experimented on, hunted, displayed in human zoos in Europe, their remains kept in museums, their culture labeled primitive, their existence an inconvenience to the myth of white progress. Does this not constitute genocide, cultural annihilation, deep, lasting trauma? And yet, where is the same level of global recognition? Where are the textbooks that teach our children their stories? Where are the memorials, the reparations, the protection of sacred land and language? Anti-Semitism teaches us an important lesson, that injustice left unaddressed will repeat, that silence is complicity, that memory must be protected. But that lesson cannot end with one people. Let's be clear, this is not about comparing oppressions. This is not about taking from one to give to another. It is about consistency injustice. It's about saying, if we understand the dangers of historical erasure for one community, we must also apply that understanding to others, especially those still suffering from the aftershocks of colonization, apartheid, and systemic invisibility. We don't need fewer protections for Jews. We need more protections for the Khoi and San. We need constitutional recognition. We need land restitution. We need cultural revival, institutional investment, and dignity restored. Because justice is not a zero-sum game. So here's the invitation. To all who care about memory, dignity, and human rights, expand your lens. Let the empathy you feel for one people's pain guide you towards justice for others. Let's reject selective remembrance and embrace universal recognition. The future is not built by forgetting. It is built by honoring all truths, especially the ones we were taught to ignore. Thank you for listening to Love's Revolution. Until next time, stay awake, stay honest, and stay human.